Recent studies show that 300 million people around the world experience depression. 2 out of 3 Americans are either anxious or really anxious, and suicide is the second leading cause of death between the ages of 10 and 34. But unfortunately, talking about mental health is sort of taboo in many Christian circles. Well, why is that? Why do so few churches openly discuss mental illness? Well, one of these reasons is because we think that Christians shouldn't struggle. Maybe you've heard somebody say you shouldn't feel down because you have so much to be thankful for, or you shouldn't be depressed, just go to God. Or Christians who have faith are never afraid. While there is some truth in these statements, they can also be misguided and incomplete. You see, it's possible to be right with God and yet struggling at the same time. Even Jesus faced such great agony that he sweat literal drops of blood. As Christians, we need to lose the mindset that mental illness is a sin. If you want to get in better shape, you might hire a trainer. If you want to get better at school, you might hire a tutor. If you're sick, you may go to a doctor. If you suffer mentally or emotionally, the narrative is often get over it, or you shouldn't be struggling. But asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. It's okay to admit that you're not okay. So as Christians, how can we do better? How can I do my part? Well, one way is to listen. The Bible says, be swift to hear and slow to speak. Someone once said you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. See, often our natural instinct is to just interrupt and offer advice. And while it can be good to give good counsel, there's also a time when you need to just listen. Another way you can help is don't be critical of others' struggles. If somebody has reached out to you, that was a big step on their part. Maybe they've been wanting help for a long time, but they had a hard time saying anything. And if somebody is hurting, the last thing they need to hear is depression isn't real, or you shouldn't be struggling. So many people never reach out for help because the last time they did, they were criticized for it. So if your friend is struggling, they don't need to hear a lecture on what they must be doing wrong. Don't criticize them, validate them. Another way that you can help is to be there for them. Those who are hurting need someone to be there for them. They need a friend. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. A person who is struggling isn't looking for someone who has all the answers. They're looking for someone who's there. And then finally, pray. Prayer isn't our last line of defense, it's our first line of offense. Prayer is the most powerful thing you can do for someone. That means praying with them when they're around and praying for them when they're not. One of the most helpful things you can do for a friend is to talk to God on their behalf. Christians have avoided talking about mental health for far too long, and it's time to change. So I want to challenge anybody watching this to listen. Don't be critical of others' struggles. Be there for your friends and pray. It's time for the church to step up.